it was a horrible story of how his girlfriend abused him.
Yeah.
And she had 2 kids, and what stood out to me in that story, he never fought back. But what stood out the most to me was that the police officer inserted himself in the situation and saved him.
Yeah.
And I wonder, now that you're saying that, I'm like, I wonder if that was because he was a man. And that
Exactly.
doesn't necessarily always happen to men.
Yes. Yes.
And she was like the first woman to get convicted
Yeah, to this.
of abuse and go to jail for like 14 years.
Yeah. Welcome back to Relate Right.
I'm Elle.
And I'm Fab.
And here at Relate Right, we are all about relationships and helping you connect better with each other. And today we are going to talk about submissive versus vulnerable in relationships. So obviously there's a huge difference between being submissive and being vulnerable. Mm-hmm. But let's start talking about submissive, right? And what that actually means in a relationship specifically.
Yeah.
Not much different to what it means in any other scenario.
Yeah.
It's really just obeying the other person, submitting to somebody else's wants and needs rather than recognizing and asserting your wants and needs.
Yeah. And I would say, is it, for example, because I like to say that when you're submissive, it's always against your choices, you know?
Of course.
But some people are going to tell you, but I like to be submissive. I like that. Are they unconsciously
Listen,
being, they don't have choice unconsciously, or they think they choose to be submissive while they're not? That's the thing.
that's a great question. And I think it just is, because we have to explore why people are submissive to begin with. And a lot of it has to do with like childhood trauma, or even just how you were raised as a child. Like if you had to, be obedient, for example, or if you were always talked down to, if you don't have good self-confidence, all of that stuff like shapes you as a person. And even genetics. Like I was reading about submission, and it said that 50% of your personality is genetics and 50% is developmental.
People don't believe in that.
It's a real thing.
But it's a real thing.
Yeah, generational trauma is a thing, and that falls into that.
Only the fact that, for example, when you talk about genetics as well, but also the fact that when you are in the belly of your mom, your mom is stressed, and your mom is, for whatever reason, for example, they have issue in the relationship, and they're always arguing, and she don't have the good energy.
Yeah.
When the baby is born.
Yeah.
Some people were like, but he or she always crying for something. I don't understand.
If it's not like a physical issue, like colic or something. Then people are like, this baby's so anxious.
Yes.
Baby's always crying, is getting scared quickly, or,
but they never
not being used to the outside world as well. There are some babies who take longer to
adjust.
To adjust. And I'm sure it has to do with energy.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to do it because we are connected with our mother.
Yes.
It's not just the food that you take from your mother when you are here. It's everything.
But when you talk about genetics and when you talk about specifically giving birth, research recently discovered that your mother carries the genetics and the information of her personality, of her trauma, of all of her experiences, as well as she carries your grandmother's. And therefore you receive both of those.
Yeah.
So you got three people inside of yourself, pretty much, as you're being born.
And I would say even more.
Yeah. But
even
specifically, research has proven that that's the case,
And that's logic.
But whether some people enjoy submission,
Yeah.
to go back to your question, I feel that some people, it's not about necessarily enjoying submission. It's more about the fear of self. It's more about the fear of doing things alone and making their own decisions, fear of failure. So they'd rather be led.
And you know what I think as well about this? When people feel, when they say that they like or they enjoy it, it's also, I would say, the end of the process of the submission, the final step. That means you've been so much in this environment, in this submission stage or mode, that after, like I said before, we are human, so we adapt ourselves to survive in every any environment possible. So finally, after, your brain and even everything's in your body and everything's feel that this is how life is. This is how it is, and you're even scared to go out of it because you're like now a little bit addicted.
Well, that's exactly right. Because, and you're exactly right on that, because what happens is when you're in a situation where you're being dominated, you will rationalize in your brain so you can cope with that situation.
Yes.
So you will come up with reasons why this is a good thing. So anytime something bad happens, you're going to be like, oh, that's great. I don't have to deal with it. He's dealing with it. Or, you know, when it comes to like finances, for example, oh, that's okay. I don't have to worry about money. My husband worries about money. And you're, you know, when you rationalize it like that, it's kind of like you're looking for the benefits of the situation. Yes. And you're kind of ignoring the fact that you actually don't have a control and you're fully dependent on someone else, and they can do whatever they want with that control.
Even if the door is open for you to leave, you gonna close this door by yourself to stay in.
Well,
that's the thing who happen as well when people say, for example, in the relationship, they see that someone is being submissive, and they're like, but why you don't leave?
Right. You
know what I mean? Why you don't leave? Of course, it's easy for us when we are outside and we're like, just leave.
But hold on. But are all people who dominate another person in a relationship, are they all abusive? Because I don't know that that's always true.
For me, again, you can dominate in certain situation.
Right.
And your partner have to dominate as well in certain situation.
Yeah.
In the life of the relationship, it's not possible that you are 100% the one who dominates for every type of things and every layer of the relationship.
Right.
Then if it's like that, that means you said and you decide to be the one who do everything, and the one who have to be behind you or even under you.
That's true.
That's the thing.
Yeah. And at the same time, though, when you're developing this personality of you know, because it's a personality trait, it's not like doesn't define you necessarily being submissive. Course, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just something you've developed over the years. And when I think about, for example, cultural expectations, you know, if I just think about Bosnia, for women, the cultural expectation is to self-sacrifice, to people please. Yeah. And in essence, as you're taught that from a very young age, that you are the last person who matters in the room, and that you're constantly having to behave in a way that doesn't offend anyone, and you're constantly having to think about what another person might want you to do, and then do it. So just constantly consider others. You are going to grow up to have that submissive personality trait.
But in generally, I would say 99, or maybe I'm not going to start the, I'm not going to start the statistic. But most of the people who've been submissive are women.
Yeah, conditioned to be submissive.
Why? Because in those society and world, the men dictate everything.
Well, yeah.
And in the educational life of people
Yes.
from before, was teaching to the child even more than now.
Right.
Even more. And I would say, I don't know if it's more or if it's they don't try to make it like a secret. It was on the table next to you.
Yeah.
So, woman, what are you doing here? Okay, so that's what I say. In some civilization, even women wasn't citizen. People
Yeah.
don't know that, but women
Yeah.
wasn't even citizen. We're not gonna start about
Yeah.
history,
Let's not.
but
But
that's what I say. So when in the history you have all this
oppression
oppression,
over. Yeah.
then that's why most of the people who be submissive are women, because it's the men who
And
put this pressure.
that oppression continues in different ways.
Yeah, yeah,
And when you are submissive, especially as a woman, like your opinion doesn't necessarily matter. And you'll see other women saying the same thing. You will see, even in the workplace, for example, you will see women, let's say, having a subconscious bias to hire a man rather than a woman with the exact same qualifications because they take him more seriously,
yeah,
because they view him as smarter,
yeah,
you know?
yep.
And I think when it's so embedded in culture, submission, or the trait of being submissive, is equated to being a good woman.
Yes, yes,
And it's like, if you want to be a good woman, you have to submit.
of course. But who does what you said benefit to?
Yeah, the other person in the relationship, the person who dominates.
Yeah, yeah. So of course, all those like the thing that you said, you can even when you say it,
Yeah.
you can feel that it comes from a man, because you said to your wife, go do this, you have to do this, that's you have to do that. Woman, why my food is not there? That bab bab bab, all these type of things. So you are the king.
But
You
see,
are the king in the relation.
but that's also how men view love a lot of the times, I think. And that's why it's so complex, because a man will be like, if you don't do these and these things for me, you don't love me. Because they've also been conditioned that submission in some way is a form of love, and that retaliation
And
is
masculinity. And
right.
masculinity.
Right. And submission is feminine. Yeah, exactly.
And masculinity. And that's why as well it's really hard for someone who've been teaching by his father that if his woman is not submissive to him, he's not a good dad or he's not a good husband.
Husband. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
As
yeah.
well.
It's true. It's true.
So for him, he don't do nothing's bad.
Of course. It's her. If she's not listening, if she's not doing what she's supposed to do as a woman.
Yeah. But I mean, he don't do nothing's bad when the submission is the most important
Right.
things in his relationship.
Right.
For him,
Right. Right.
nothing's bad. It's like that. While when I hear about that, I'm like, but don't you want to have someone at your equal?
Well,
Don't you
I
want,
think
you know?
the trend now, and I hear this with a lot of my friends, and I mean, I've heard it in the past, is men are always talking about, oh, I want to be challenged. Oh, I don't want a girl who's, just going to sit there like a potato. I want to be challenged. And then they meet a girl who challenges them, and they don't like it.
Of course.
They don't like it because, do you know what they want? They want a girl who challenges everybody else and shuts up when she's with them, because it's too difficult. It's taking away from their masculinity. They have to work harder, because this is the thing. I think a lot of the times these people who view themselves as dominant have been like conditioned to think they somehow are entitled to respect and entitled to being the dominant,
Yeah.
that they don't have to work for it. They don't have to work for respect, because
Yeah.
it goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course. I mean, it's the same way like when you said that, you're like, when men, for example, they said, I don't care if my wife have more money than me. But in the relationship, you feel like a lot of people when it's like that. How many men try to, I don't know, but break break the confidence, but the situation, even like, I don't know, maybe not get the woman fired, but you know what I mean? Going to this point because they don't want that.
I think a lot of men will minimize her success.
Also,
yeah, so
they won't help her to
to
reach more
yeah.
more goals. They don't. They will say, "What are you doing? You think you can do that?" You know. And it's just a mechanism of their brain who say that she cannot go more than this. It's already too much.
Ego is the ego.
Yeah.
It is the ego because it's a very selfish way of thinking. Instead of thinking as a team, they're thinking as individuals. You know what I mean? So
when you see the relationship, you're in a relationship. If she reach 1 million, you as well reach a fucking million. That's what I mean. So you see how powerful it is. You see how powerful it is in your mind. You don't even think about
it is.
You think about I.
Absolutely. Whereas the person who's submissive is constantly thinking about not we, but you. Not
and
I.
You think about
but
I.
You. I know.
So how good is it?
The imbalance of power is out of control. Yeah. And it's like if that the sub says no.
Yeah.
Or tries to set boundaries when it's already like established, like the dynamics in the relationship, it just can't last.
For sure.
It can't last.
For sure. You know, that's the thing as well. When you talk about submissive, how long you think they can last until? Do you think the relationship or someone constantly being submissive can be long?
Yes. yes, because I think I've seen it so many times in my culture. It's so normal. It's so normal.
Not only your culture, don't worry about it.
No, I know. I'm just talking from like what I know best.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like, and a lot of the times it's, not our generation necessarily, but the generations before, because, women would get married and that would be their husband and their first and their only. And they would be young and divorce is not an option. And so, his family dictates, her family dictates, he dictates, and she's just there living to please everybody. You know what I mean? And then when the kids come, she's also submissive to them, which is so interesting because in a lot of ways, the woman is the light of the family. So, and I'm not saying everybody's like this. Of course, we have a lot of people in our culture who also practice like, sharing of power. But there is also a lot where that, patriarchy exists.
Yes.
Because the culture itself, like that, is embedded in it, And even if I think about myself when I was younger, I was conditioned to be a people pleaser. And it was an internal battle for a long time for me because I didn't like it.
Soon as those traits are not your choices,
right,
there is a problem. Because you can be a people pleaser for your husband sometime.
Well, yeah.
Because he's going to be a people pleaser sometime for you. So it's going to be natural.
Exactly.
Those things can be natural when there is a balance. You know what I mean? When there is a balance.
When you have a level of self-awareness and when you have self-worth and confidence.
Yes.
Because I feel in our relationship, I know when I'm being the most.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know that. And maybe I can't stop myself sometimes, but when you kind of exert your dominance, I will retreat in that moment. But you also know that there are times when I won't.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
and that's where the self-awareness comes in.
It's the situation. All situations are not the same.
Of course.
So it cannot be in one sense. It cannot be the same way because all the situations are not the same.
Right.
It's just the logic normally.
But also there has to be an absence of fear in the relationship in order to challenge each other.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
So if you're in a relationship where there's fear,
Submissive people are 100% of fear.
Right.
Of course.
Even though maybe the dominant person wouldn't necessarily be abusive.
Oh,
You
it's
know what
not
I'm saying?
physically. It's not
Right.
always physically fear.
No.
It's fear. It's even mentally
Yeah.
and we talk about the narcissist, but there is some narcissist trait as well of the people who of the men or the women who are the one who do the submissive.
Who exert
Who
the
exert
dominance.
the dominance in the couple.
Well,
There is trait.
Yeah.
Because you have to install it.
Right.
You have to install those different submissive boundaries, I would say. You know what I mean?
Well, expectations.
Expectation.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. That's exactly right. And it is, I don't think it happens overnight. Like,
no,
I
no.
think the expectations grow as the relationship grows.
Because most of the time, those people, when they start the relationship, they are the best.
Well, yeah,
They are the best.
that's usually how it happens. Yeah.
You watch them like the best.
Yeah.
And slowly, they reverse, they change. And they start to, it's like a venom. It's like a venom.
Yeah.
Slowly take over all your body.
Yes.
And after years, you don't even realize.
That you don't have your own choices and your own thoughts and your own opinions.
Exactly.
And that leads me to my question. So I was watching this reel by Ace Metaphor, right? And he was talking about submission. And he was saying, if a healthy man is asking you to submit, is that okay? Like, is submission ever okay?
Do you know what's going to be my answer again? If a healthy man asks you to submit, it's because he is ready to submit.
Right.
When he had to.
Right.
That's it. You always have to think like that. You're not gonna have no problem.
Right.
Never. When he asks you this question, you say, of course.
Right.
Of course. And you? Will you?
Well,
Because I won't.
right.
I'm not a submissive person naturally for
Right.
anyone in
That's
front
exactly
of me.
right.
So it's gonna be the same for you and not for any reason. If I'm right, I am right. You know what I mean?
I think it's a valid point that he makes, only because there's so many women who are like traumatized by the past, who are like operating on that, like, I know man can tell me what to do, because they've been, in bad situations before. So women, I think a lot of women, strong women, are more like creating a distance and not willing to submit and not willing to do anything because they don't want to be caught up in a bad situation.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
You talk about in the relationship.
Yeah, like when they're getting to know each other, or when they're they're starting off a relationship.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
what can happen is they start clashing, because she's not willing to back down. And I think, if a healthy man has created a safe space for you to submit without being afraid of punishment, quote unquote, then why not?
Healthy, high value man.
Right.
Healthy, and he will be only healthy and high value man if he, by himself he don't ask you to be submissive. He don't ask you.
Right.
He will tell you. He will ask you for both of you. Not just you.
Yes.
Say, oh, are you ready to listen to me?
Yeah, of course.
What the hell is this question anyway? So anyway, you know.
Okay, so there are obviously situations where that can work, only if it's like a mutual thing. You know what I mean? But there's also situations where submission can be very harmful.
Yeah. In secret, like no one see.
Right.
They make you bruises as some part of your body, strategic part of your body. There is people who are really that's the last stage of the submission. That's the one who is really violent. You know? And those one in generally at the end, I don't say there is always this, but
there can be.
There can be, and
that's the sad part. When we watched we watched that TED Talk by Leslie Morgan.
Yeah.
And she was a survivor of domestic violence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the crazy thing was she came up on the stage and she was like, I am just here to share my story. Like, I don't have no qualifications. I don't have this. I don't have that.
Yeah.
But I'm here as a survivor who got out.
Yeah, because her story was like she had a gun in her face from the guy that she loved,
Right.
and she threw that it was the love of her life.
And it was interesting to listen to her because all the steps that this man took
Yeah.
were the same steps as a narcissist would take, for example. So
Yeah,
first
yeah,
they
yeah,
love bomb you, shower you with love. You know, that's what he did.
Yeah.
Then he isolated her. He quit his job. He did a grand gesture and then moved her away to a country, not a country, a city where nobody knew her or him
Yeah.
to start over.
Isolation.
Isolation. And then she said the first time he hit her was 5 days before her wedding, and it went on for 2 years. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. And this is the crazy thing, because I think a lot of people are quick to judge, like, why does she stay? Why do people stay?
That's the thing. Even sometimes, we won't. I won't lie. Even sometimes, I never seen people, or people never tell me. I never have this situation like that. That violence, or maybe no one tell me, because it's hard for the people to talk about it.
Of course.
But I'm like, but why does she stay? Or when I see a situation, why does she stay? But we don't think about the fact that even if she leave, those guys, because in general these guys can be women, but I would say those partners, they're gonna find you, and if they are violent with you, you have this fear that they're gonna kill you, and they already show you and tell you that they could many times.
Well, statistically speaking, and I have the stats,
Yeah.
70% of all deaths of a person
Yeah.
who experiences domestic violence is after the relationship is over. And so that's because the other person, the abuser, has nothing else to lose then. And that's a fact. They do. They are scared of death, and they will come.
And the crazy part of these things, we talk about patriarchal, okay?
Right.
We talk about that it's most of the people who are like that are men.
Right.
Because of the education and what happened in the history. Anyway, when the woman decide to go to the police, and in front of her, there is another man.
Right.
He gonna say, yeah, I take your deposition. Okay, thank you. Because for him, what's she talk about? What she talk about? And after you hear like, oh, but she was at the cops 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, and now she's dead.
It's so interesting.
Because they didn't do nothing.
It's true. It's interesting that you say that, though, because when you're a woman, you have to raise hell.
She have to be blood. She have to be like...
She just has to tell everybody, and this is what this lady did.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just one person. She said she told her neighbors, she told people on the street, she told police, she told family, she told friends.
That was really smart.
That was the smartest thing to do, and I was like, wow, that's really brave.
Yeah, and it's brave as hell, because you know what? Even the woman who's been abused in the society, I don't know. There is a feeling that they are.
I know.
They are the lowest. There are some things like,
yes.
What were you talking about?
Exactly. Well, then they're like abused goods after.
Exactly.
They have a stamp on them.
So when you are abused, you must have. I won't say that I know, because I cannot. But I imagine that you must have this feeling like, I cannot say to anyone.
They make you feel ashamed.
Ashamed, yeah.
For being a victim.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And even I mean, that's what I mean. So you're like, you hold it. as much as you can. You hold it, you hold it, you hold it, you hold it. And even sometimes some people just gonna talk to the cops, but they won't say the whole things. They
Exactly,
say,
because they're
he's
embarrassed.
valiant.
It's okay. It's not that, and you start making excuses.
Yeah, but they don't say he cut me, he do that, he take the
Right.
knife, he do this, he touch me like that when I don't want it. So this girl was really smart to talk to everyone. When you have this type of thing as well, it's the moment that we can also say, put everything on the side and think about your life. And on top of it, if you have child as well, but
Oh, that's a
just
whole
think
different
about
ball
your
game.
life
Yeah.
and be sure that you tell to everyone.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to do it. And it when you spoke about the police and how when a woman expresses that fear or the violence, it was just, I don't know, something clicked in my head because we were watching that video of this, I think it was like in the UK, this guy, I think his name was Alex Skeel or something like that. And
Yeah.
it was a horrible story of how his girlfriend abused him.
Yeah.
And she had 2 kids, and what stood out to me in that story, he never fought back. But what stood out the most to me was that the police officer inserted himself in the situation and saved him.
Yeah.
And I wonder, now that you're saying that, I'm like, I wonder if that was because he was a man. And that doesn't
Exactly.
necessarily always happen to men.
Yes.
And she was like the first woman to get convicted
Yeah, to this.
of abuse and go to jail for like 14 years.
Yeah, in England, in
Right.
Europe, I think.
It
I don't
wasn't.
even. I
It
think.
was
I think.
somewhere in the UK,
Yeah.
some town.
Yeah.
That was, yeah, because even as I was watching it, I don't know if you remember, I was like, oh, that's interesting that the policeman took such initiative to like go into the house
Yes.
and like help this man escape.
And I really think like normally, women, when they want to talk to police about this type of things, they should talk to a woman. I feel like they should explain these things to a woman. No.
I don't know, man. Honestly, like
I feel like
a lot of women in positions of power don't necessarily have the level of empathy that you would think.
of course, you can say that for every person and everything. It's not all the
Yeah, I
people gonna be
guess.
like that. But I feel like it's better to talk to a woman. You will find a woman who's gonna take the things more seriously because they are women. You know what I mean?
You would hope so. You would hope so. And just before we kind of close on the submission piece, we can't do that without talking about Diddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that story is crazy. Again, look, it's all alleged, but at the same time, there's just so much out there. Like after Cassie filed, and now there's all these other women filing things around rape, around abuse, sexual abuse, trafficking, all of this stuff.
They talk about Diddy. They talk about Diddy, but like I said, the whole industry, not just Diddy, the whole industry is about this type of stories. The whole industry. Because in those industry, people are chasing money like hard. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Chase money for everything is about money. Everything is and not just small money like billion and everything, billion. So when girls come, as they are not the one who have the most power, or they don't have the power to change career. Some of them, but there will be 10, something like that. So when you are a young artist and you want to make song, and you know that if you connect with this guy, this guy, they will help you to reach your goal and climb. When those guys start to use their power to use your body or to use you, that's where I come from all those type of things. Because people talk now because there is a problem inside their cycle. I'm sure there is a problem. That's why they talk now, because those things it's not just now. It's been years, and some people know those stories since years, but they just talk now. You know what I mean? Some people who are involved as well in that, and they've seen things they never talked,
There's
and they
so
talk
many,
now.
so many people coming out talking about Diddy and
Yeah,
what
now
they
they talk.
witnessed, him treating Cassie and coercing her into having like these freak offs or whatever they're
Yeah, yeah,
called,
yeah,
like
yeah.
orgies and rape
Yeah,
and
but even those people who
right.
people who are in those orgies, there is some star that we don't even know they were there. That's why there were some people don't talk. There is
I
also,
mean, that's because they now feel like they can dominate the people who are trying to climb up the ladder. But
of course, well,
again, the women are, Cassie apparently told Tiffany Red, who's like a songwriter, she apparently, and her friend has told her that Diddy only worked on her music when she participated in these things.
and that's what I'm talking. That's what I'm saying. When you have that much power, the human next to you is not a human anymore, because
That's sad.
it's not a human anymore. It's something you can use. It's an object. You can use it because you have so much power. That's your position now in life.
It's so like you would just never know it. And funny enough, last night I was watching this interview by Thames, the Nigerian artist.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah, yeah,
do you
yeah.
remember? You saw it too,
I
right?
saw it. I saw it.
Yeah, and she was like, when she came into the studio, when she
So
comes
proud.
into a studio, she was like, I wear baggy clothes.
So proud of what she said.
Right. She was like, I would wear baggy clothes. I would go in. I would make myself helpful. I would, be like one of the boys. And it's like, even without being famous at that time when she was trying to come up, she understood. She understood that if you come in using sexuality or, the woman's charm in that environment, you will be forced to submit or do something that you don't necessarily want or that's against your values to get where you want. And I feel like that's what she's saying with that statement.
And she's a smart woman, because even during this interview, she said, "I'm wearing those type of clothes to help you, who's in front of me, to don't be tempted."
It's crazy.
That's a smart way to say it.
It is.
That's a
but
smart way.
she also, but see, this is the thing, like the narrative is also like all women should dress, more modestly because, men shouldn't have the urge to be rapists or to be this. And that's true. I understand that.
That's why I say it's a smart way, because normally she don't have to say that.
Right.
Normally, women could put what they want.
Well, they should be able to.
Normally.
But they can't.
In this world,
it's not possible.
It's not possible.
No.
It's not possible. It's not just in
for
this
them,
world.
you're asking for it. You wear a short skirt, you're asking for something.
Yeah.
And so, no, it's not possible. We'd all like to think that that's possible. It's not.
But as well what's changed between, that's the thing as well. When we walk on the street, for example, and you see that, I would say, not normal people, but people who are not like from millionaire, billionaire, and have that much power because of their money.
Yeah.
Nothing else. If you did some things to a woman, you're going to go to the court and something going to happen to you.
Yeah.
That's the only things who stop men. Some men, because we know that there will some who do it. But in those industry, it is their word, because even the judge are a part of it. Even the government are a part of it sometimes. So they don't even care. They do something to you, they say, go to talk. And you're going to see if your album going to go out. Go to talk. And you're going to see if you're going to have this house for your child. Go to talk. And you're going to see if I'm not paying someone to do some things to you.
Right.
Nothing's going to happen to me. And that's where it's hard. That's why Cassie was hard for her to talk. That's why there is other stars, other things, other story who doesn't go out.
Other women, yeah.
Other trafficking guys that we hear about who are still there working. All those type of things. We hear it this week, next week, there's nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
We hear that there was a guy who bring child in Ireland and things like that. Next week, we don't hear about it anymore. You see what I mean? Power, money, and they are all together. Also,
in
that's
this
the thing
instance,
as well.
yeah.
They are all together. The policemen work with them. The guy work with them. They call you. Oh, she did something on you. We dismiss the case. all these things. So it's hard. It's hard. And this girl is really smart the way she talk because like that as well. They are not tempted. But I feel like even if you have baggy clothes, they could be tempted. You know, that's what I mean. It's because as well, I think she have character, and I think the way she talk is if she talk like that to them as well,
Well,
it's gonna be harder to them.
She's obviously set boundaries.
Straight away.
She's set boundaries from the jump.
Yeah.
She was assertive in her approach. And by, what you said, like she has a character, but it's more about being assertive.
Assertive, yeah.
Exactly.
I'm here to work,
and
bro.
she has self-confidence. And I think when you move like that and approach a situation like that, you are showing that you're a dominant person.
Yeah.
And not easily swayed into submission. And I think that's the point. The point is if you are a submissive person, whether it's in a situation, hopefully not in a situation where you feel powerless, like in those industries, you have to know that it doesn't have to be that way. You can change those things.
It shouldn't have to be that way.
Right. Right. And so I think we should move on to vulnerability now.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of people get slightly confused about this word, the V word, which is like considered to be in a lot of ways weakness, especially for a man.
Especially for a man, yeah. Of course.
You know what I mean?
Because they told him that he have to be, his wife have to be submissive. Because they told him as well that he have to be the alpha male.
And not cry.
And not crying.
And not have feelings.
Everything.
Right.
And everything and blah, 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 blah. Why? When you think about it, you can try to hide all the things that you want. Mm-hmm. They are still there.
Well, they manifest in different ways. They come out in different ways.
Exactly.
Your weakness comes out in different ways when you don't share.
Exactly.
Your pain, it comes out in different ways.
Yeah. And in the wrong way.
In the unhealthy ways.
Because you don't say them. You don't say them. You're not vulnerable. And that's where come from the vulnerability. It's powerful.
It is. It's actually strength.
Power.
Well, vulnerability is really like, when you talk about vulnerability in a relationship, it's having the courage to express your experiences, your thoughts, your feelings, your traumas, and by doing that, you're teaching your partner who you are. You're letting them in. You're deepening the bond.
Your strength.
Building a house of love.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Being vulnerable, it's like I like to say, it's the emotional, it's an emotional, it's the emotional house of your relationship.
Yeah.
So when you are vulnerable, your partner as well feel safe. Just because you are vulnerable, then they are going to be vulnerable with you because you've been vulnerable. And it works like that, You cannot just be vulnerable by yourself. Of course, you know your fear. You know what I mean? You know your fear, Yeah, you can talk to yourself sometimes. Yeah. But being vulnerable is like you share those fears to someone.
Well,
and that's the thing as well.
You are showing that person that you trust them. Because to be vulnerable is actually quite scary. You can't do that with everybody. Mm-hmm. You have to do it with people that you trust, with people who you hope will, listen to you.
Yes.
And take that into consideration to try to understand you. Because, with sharing all these things, there's, you might be scared of being rejected. You might be scared of retribution. You might be scared of judgment. And it's like, it makes you so raw, so human.
That's the thing as well. If in the relationship, you are scared to be rejected when you think about sharing those fear that you have inside you, you won't do it. Well, that's where the safe environment for your emotional needs or even for to sharing those this vulnerability with your partner, it's important because otherwise you will never do it. You will never you will never be vulnerable if your partner didn't create the space for you to be vulnerable. It's impossible because you will do it one time maybe.
Yeah.
If they judge you, if they react, if they just even don't listen. Because when you are vulnerable, you take this courage inside you to say, okay, I'm going to talk about it. It's painful, even it's painful for me to say it, because also you imagine the answer of the people who are next to you and your partner. So you imagine what he will feel if you say that as well. There is all these things as well who come to you before to talk about it. But then when you say it and you see, you feel, you see and you watch that, they don't listen. They don't take it seriously. They judge you. It's finished. You close the door.
Well, yeah, and I think even before you get to that point, because men are obviously conditioned to not share. So, but women are also conditioned to think that vulnerability in a man is weakness and softness.
Yes.
And there has been lots of cases where a man has decided to be vulnerable, and the woman is like, "Yo, I don't want to be with him anymore because now she thinks he's soft. Now she thinks he can't deal with life. Now she thinks he can't lead. Now she thinks he can't take care of her." You know what I mean? And these are the unfortunate, I guess, societal expectations that we put on each other.
Yeah, I feel like the women who are gonna react like that are the women who are conditioned to be submissive wife. Also,
I just think
that's the thing.
I agree with you, but I also think that everybody wants everything in this society. Like, nobody is realistic.
Yeah.
Nobody is realistic. And that's another reason why everything is falling apart. All the relationships are falling apart. I'm serious, because even those women, they're like, oh, they want to be submissive, but only to the things they want to be submissive to. But then the guy has to do this, and then he has to do that, and he has to provide for her, and I don't know, go to the gym and cook her food and, treat her, open her door and shit like that. But then she also wants to have a say.
Yeah.
But it's all very like
selfish.
That's what I mean.
It's selfishness. All the things that you describe, it's selfishness. You think about I.
Right.
Not we. You know what I mean? I want to do that, but I don't want to do this. I want to have this, but I don't want to give that. So it's always about I. And that's the problem with relationship now. It's always about I. We talked about it in the previous podcast.
Right.
But when you are in a relationship and you only think about yourself, and consciously or unconsciously, when you only think about yourself, you won't be able to commit. It will be impossible. You won't be able to be vulnerable as well, in the same way. And that's where the relationship now are falling apart. Because at one point, you're like, I deserve better.
Yeah, people think that all the time.
I deserve better.
Because you know what? Like, and this is the thing. It's crazy to me, because being vulnerable is such a strength. It's like you're putting yourself out there. It's not just like sharing your experiences, your fears, and all that stuff. It's even just like asking for forgiveness.
Yes.
It's even just like bearing your soul about a specific situation.
Even recognize that you are wrong.
Exactly. It's like having the courage to change. That is being vulnerable.
Yes.
So it's like the fact that it's considered weakness is crazy to me, because the more a man is willing to learn, to share, to grow, the more vulnerable he is, the more strong he is.
Of course.
Like, and that's actually what it should be associated with.
But if you think about it, being vulnerable and even to be able to be vulnerable, it means like you recognize your fear, your trauma,
Right.
or the way that you need to change about some things,
Right.
or you were wrong about some things. So all those things are strength.
It shows growth.
It
It
shows
shows
growth.
self-regulation.
Smart as
It
well.
shows coping mechanism. It
Exactly.
shows trust in the person you're with.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like
because because if you don't listen all those things that I just said and you decide that no, I'm good, I'm perfect.
right.
That's narcissist. That's
No,
selfishness.
there's definitely people like that.
Yeah.
Like they feel like they have nowhere to improve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm
And they
good.
don't want to be vulnerable. They can't be. It's scary.
Yeah,
It's scary.
It's scary.
And that's the thing. In submission, people are scared of making choices for themselves, scared of being alone, Whereas in vulnerability, people are scared to show themselves because they're scared of rejection. They're scared of, judgment or whatever it is.
They're scared and even don't know how.
Right.
There's this as well. There is some people don't
Whereas
even know.
submission is a very, very delicate state to be in.
Yes.
Because
yes.
it's very fragile and it can easily move into a bad situation.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
vulnerability, you have control over who you share these things with. You have control over who you decide to trust. Because it is about you in a lot of ways. It's about your growth.
Yeah.
And the growth of your relationship.
And that's the thing. It's about your growth and the growth of the relationship. But when you are in a relationship, and that's the thing as well. When you are in a relationship and you are not thinking about yourself, but thinking about the relationship who's bigger than both of you,
right?
You are being vulnerable start to be logic.
Yeah,
that's the thing as well. It starts to be logic.
It does. But that only happens in a safe house.
Of course.
For sure.
When you think about the relationship before you.
Well, both of you. Yeah.
Yeah, before. But when I think me, for example, I think about our relationship before thinking about
yourself,
my things or what I like or what I want to do or what I prefer.
Is that a dig at me?
You know what I mean? Then you got other solution in your mind.
It's true.
Instantly.
Nah, but you know what else I was thinking about? There's this like podcast type of situation. I think it's like 8 at a table or something. Uh-huh. And I was watching TikTok and this guy from there was talking about, women, like a man will be vulnerable with a woman talking about, I need space. I don't want to talk about it. I need space, or I'm going through something. And she'll be pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. Mm-hmm. And he was like, she doesn't leave it alone until he's crying. And he was like, the man's being vulnerable with you. You shouldn't push men, because eventually, like, they'll get into that state of crying.
Yeah. I mean,
you should just leave them alone.
Yeah, he was saying like when the when a man say leave me alone, I don't want to talk about it. He's been vulnerable.
Right, and I was like,
that's totally wrong.
I was like,
that's not being vulnerable.
That's
been the contrary of vulnerable.
Literally the opposite. Exactly. And I'm like, what the woman is doing by pushing you is asking you to be vulnerable.
Is digging.
Right. And if you end up crying
and you put back the horse.
Was she burying him?
No, she tried to find the goal.
No, but seriously, like it just it didn't make sense to me. Like, as he was talking, I'm like, you're literally contradicting yourself, bro. Like, she's asking you to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Once he's on the floor crying, hello, I think she got him to be vulnerable. Now he just has to say why he's crying.
And that's the thing as well.
Like, come on, bro.
That's the thing as well. Your partner, like we said as well, being vulnerable is not instinctive. So it starts slowly.
Yeah.
I guess it's for most of the people, it starts slowly. You start to say some things and after it starts. So also, on the other hand, you have to be really careful of when you want to ask your partner to be vulnerable, if it's not something's natural or it never happened before, when it's just the beginning. You have to be careful because there is certain things you cannot say because it's always hard for them to say it. So on top of it, if they have the pressure,
that's true.
If they have too much pressure, it's going to create the contrary. It's a defensive mode now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
problem
yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
That's the problem as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, look, if a person's not ready to share, they're not ready to share.
Of course, of course.
That is a problem in itself, though, because
Yeah.
when you don't share, that leaves so much room for assumptions.
Yeah.
And we all know that assumptions cause conflict. And the more you share with your partner, the more vulnerable you are with your partner, the less conflict you will have in your relationship.
The less incomprehension you will have as well.
Well, yeah, you'll have
You will
more
have
understanding.
exactly.
And the more understanding you have of your partner, the deeper your bond. It's literally all tied together.
Yes. 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 It's a process.
It seriously is.
Yeah.
And last night when we were talking, I was like, it just like reminded me because you said, I asked you like, what are some of the things that you remember when we first met? And you're like, oh, you used to ask me all these deep questions. And then I would like answer from my heart. And you'd be like, what else?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't even realize that I was like digging for you to be
Yeah, but
vulnerable. But I didn't realize that.
But it wasn't like what else? It's like, oh yeah, and what else?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the most I can do in my head, you know? And I'm like, what the hell? But for example, it wasn't something natural for me
Right.
at all. And now I can talk about it like that to you, but it wasn't natural for me.
Yeah.
I had to be as well with the partner who make me feel safe to
Yeah.
talk about
Certain things.
certain things
Yeah.
as well. And then it starts slowly.
Exactly.
And after it became normal.
Yeah.
Because we create this, like I said, emotional safety house.
Exactly.
That when we want to talk about something, we go into it.
Yes.
Open the door up. Let's go to the
Into the safe house.
yeah, and let's talk about it. Bam.
You know, great segue because we're going to give you guys advice on how to be more vulnerable, less submissive. And
Yeah.
that was the first one. Fab just told you, start slowly.
Start slowly. Don't. If you are the one who want to be vulnerable and it's really hard for you, think about the easier
Something small.
thing that you can say that you never said maybe.
Yep.
But it's going to be easier for you.
Yep.
Start like that. And if you're the one who are asking for vulnerability, you have to understand that you need to don't put too much pressure. And you need to find a way to create this space. And also to have those questions who are going to help him to talk to you, you know?
Yeah.
Don't be aggressive. Don't be, don't
Yeah.
assume that it's easy. Just talk about it and they talk. Why you don't never talk? You have to find a way.
Well, this is the thing. So it's about the person being more vulnerable. So
Yes.
when you start slow, when you give a small taste to your partner, you need to observe their reaction. So if it's like what Fab said, that's probably not your person. You know what I mean? That's when you're going to close off because, maybe they want too much. Maybe they're giving too much judgment.
Yes.
They're pressuring you. They don't care necessarily about what you have said. They just care about how they've received it.
Yeah.
And so I think start slow, watch their reaction.
Yeah.
If you feel you can trust them, try something bigger. If you feel like you can't, you need to wait it out and have a conversation about it.
Exactly.
Or decide whether this person is forcing you into submission. Because they could be.
Yeah, because they ask what's your vulnerable point to use them.
That's exactly right.
They come from the betrayal.
That's
And
exactly
you know me
right.
about betrayal.
Yes, I do. And the second thing is be honest with your partner all the time.
You won't be able to be vulnerable if you already know that for the normal thing in life, you cannot trust him or trust her. That's the thing.
Yeah, and that's...
Yeah. No, sorry. You can go.
No, I was just going to say, like, it's so easy to change your opinion based on what you think that somebody else wants to hear. So and in submissive relationship, that's what happens. You don't always give your real opinion because you want the other person to like you more, to love you more.
Yes.
But when you're being vulnerable, you're going to say the opinion even if the other person doesn't like it.
Being real, I say it again. Normally, in your relationship, you shouldn't have this sentiment of, I should not say that because he's going to be angry. I'm scared about his reaction. It's already a big red flag. You know? Even if sometimes
Yes.
I know that she's not going to like some things, for example. I'm going to say it.
I know.
Because it's in my head. And I know that even if she's not going to like it, we're going to process it. And we're going to see, and she's going to tell me what she think about it. And after, I'm going to tell her my point. And after, it's going to be a discussion, like open discussion, because we have open discussion. That's the thing as well. Things have to be, all the doors have to be open in the relationship when you are together. No secret, no things, no things.
It's true.
And and after, when you have this, you can be vulnerable about your bigger secret, not secret, because they said no secret, so bigger fears and or trauma or whatever.
Because it's okay to have opposing opinions.
Of
That's
course.
completely fine. We have a lot of them, even though it doesn't seem like it in
You should
our
have
podcasts usually,
Yeah,
but we
yeah.
have a lot.
We have a
of
lot,
things
yeah.
that we don't see exactly the same, but it's okay because we're real about it and we love
Yeah.
each other for our differences.
For example, I'm vegan, she's not.
Exactly. And I don't
Meat.
think that will ever change for both of us.
I think so. But it's okay.
But
'cause
it's all right.
We talk about it.
Exactly. And there you go. Express your needs.
Yeah.
He had to express his needs of only wanting to eat,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
raw veggies and things like that. So
And-
you have to be real. Don't expect somebody to read your mind.
And this is crazy because if you can't express your need, you've been submissive.
Well, that's right.
And that's where vulnerability
Is-
help you to don't be submissive.
That's exactly right. Because if you're listening to this and you're in a situation where you are submissive, I'm hoping you're recognizing these things because they're passing thoughts
Yeah.
in your mind, in your relationship, in your day-to-day life. You might not realize that you are in this situation. You might, and maybe you'll like it and listen, you do you, boo. But if you don't like it, recognize it and just understand that the relationship you're in, you cannot change it into a vulnerable situation anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will need to do that with somebody else.
I think so.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
think so.
you can't turn a relationship where there's a sub and a dom into an equal opportunity partnership. You just can't. It's not possible. Look, I'm
People
sure
can change, but
it,
I
a
don't know.
dom is not going to change on your request. And that's just it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we just want you to understand the differences because vulnerability is healthy and submissiveness can be if you do have the right partner, but if you're feeling like you're not happy, you know.
There's
you
a
know.
phrase, we don't ask for freedom. We take it.
There you go. The other thing, if your partner hurts you, let them know. Okay? That's another thing.
Straight away. There is no like, okay, I'm not saying anything. And you keep it and you keep it and you keep the other one and you keep the next one and you're gonna explode.
You can't, if you're in a submissive relationship, self-sacrificing is very common.
Of course.
But when you're in a relationship where you're allowed and have the freedom to be vulnerable, you gotta let them know.
Exactly. You can be in a relationship when there is no submission.
Of course.
Things, but still, you don't say what hurting you.
That's
Or,
true.
there is this type of thing, and that's where as well. Or sometime after you explode.
Yeah.
One day you explode.
You explode. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
never keep some things who's been hurting you. You have to say it straight away. Straight away.
And also you have to model vulnerability. So Fab touched on it earlier. If you're showing you're vulnerable, your partner is more inclined to trust you and to express the same.
And it's a way as well to see how your partner value you. Because instinctively, when you hear some things who's coming that you never heard before from your partner, and you can feel and see that it some things who is really deep, who are really deep inside them, whatever fear, trauma, whatever changing point of view, whatever something that they have inside them, instinctively you as well gonna realize that it's some things that they value me because they said that to me, so they value me.
Exactly.
So you as well, you want to give them back.
Yes. That same feeling.
The same feeling. And that's where you see if your partner value you as well.
And the other thing is that's really, really important is don't assume. Don't assume and ask open-ended questions. You have to. Yeah,
it's so easy. It's so easy to assume.
So easy.
It's so easy.
Especially if you're not used to asking questions. It's a practice. But you have to ask questions. It will help you get to know your partner deeper. And also, it will help trigger them to be vulnerable.
Yes.
When you give them open-ended questions, you give them the opportunity to actually share something with you.
Some people get defensive when they have certain questions will be asked to them. That's also I would say a lack of emotional intelligence sometimes.
Yeah, it can be.
Because
or maturity.
There is maturity as well. Because there is your ego and everything to come to. You just like, why you ask me that? You know?
Sure.
Why you don't want to answer? Or you feel like they shouldn't ask you that. But sometimes, in the relationship, things are not, like we said, there's no fairy tale. We're not in a Disneyland or something like that. So, of course, sometimes question will be painful. Question will be, your ego gonna be there sometime, but you have to put him down and be yourself and say, okay, let me listen what my partner asks me. Let me be real, And that's where as well, when you ask question, don't be scared to ask any question.
That's true.
When you don't understand something, when you feel that there is some things underneath, ask question. Like you said, don't assume. It's easy for us to assume. I think it's even an instinct to assume things. I feel like.
It can be. Yeah, it can be, especially if you're operating on assumptions all the time. Yeah. And you know what? Assumptions are usually wrong. Just FYI.
Usually, yeah. Usually. That's crazy.
That's the crazy part. Yeah. So if you want to be right, ask the question.
Ask the question.
And then finally, sometimes it's just not worth it. Because if you've been abused in the past, and this is where we, that submission piece comes in. Yeah. If you've been abused in the past, if you can't trust the person, if you don't have a safe house in your relationship, there's no room for you to be vulnerable. So don't even try. There are some people, it could be your family, it could be your partner, but there are some people you can't be vulnerable with.
Something we didn't touch about just before, but that's something we should have said, is also people who don't deserve you to be vulnerable. They don't deserve it. Because it's something that someone needs to deserve. Because it's, like I said, when you are vulnerable to someone, you push them to be vulnerable to you. And as well, what's gonna do? It's gonna help this person as well. Not only you. You think that it's gonna help you only. No, it's gonna help this person as well, because we all have fear and trauma and everything's in ourselves. So when someone is like that with us, it's help us mentally. We're like, I can be like that with him. Or if you do it with the wrong person, they're gonna use it.
And you can end up in a situation where you're being submissive.
So be careful. Because as vulnerable is strong, is being strong, you can destroy yourself by being vulnerable with the wrong person. And sometimes we are with partner. It takes time to realize that we are not. We are not meant to be with each other.
Yes.
Sometimes it takes time to realize it, because it was good at one point, but after our relationship change, and then you have to be careful, because people are gonna use it. Bad people are gonna use it. And
it's a lot easier, it's a lot faster to recognize when someone doesn't deserve your vulnerability because they will use it against you sooner rather than later. Yeah, exactly. They'll make a face or they'll say something about it.
Next argument.
Right, they're using it against you. So I think when someone is not the right person to share it with, you'll know straight away.
You will know it. You will feel it. And also, you will feel it. You will see it. Don't deny it.
Yeah. It's not going to get better.
It's not going to get better. So you can have some try. You can, like you said, you start small and you see the reaction.
Exactly. So on that note, we've given the advice. Let us know how you go.
Yes, let us know. And it's time to question time.
Let's do this. All right. So I've been watching you guys since you started, and I love your perspectives, but I want to know you guys more. How did you meet? When did you know you wanted to be together?
We touch on this in previous podcast. But let's say it again.
Are you going to say it or am I?
Oh, you can say it. You can start.
Okay. We met on a rooftop.
No, I'm going to do it because I do it better.
Okay,
so
see, exactly.
We met the last day of the whole world before the coronavirus. The last day in Australia.
The old world.
Yeah, the whole world before all this coronavirus bullshit. And we met when they said, okay, it's going to be the last day, and after this day, it's going to be a lockdown.
Yes.
We didn't even know what was a lockdown. Really, we never had it. But my friends told me, let's go out for the last day. And I was like, I don't care. I don't want to go out. Let's go out. I said, okay, finally, let's go out. And when I arrived to this nightclub, this lady right here was here. You were already there.
I was already there. Yeah.
You were already there.
Yeah. And I definitely I remember we went out because I just came back from the States. I was so tired, but one of my best friends, her cousin was in town from Bosnia. And we wanted to take him out because he was leaving. Little did we know he had to stay another 3 months because he couldn't leave. But we all ended up going out. And yeah, we were there when he walked in.
And I saw her directly when I turned like that. Oh.
I saw him directly too.
I was like, okay. You know when you say, this girl is for me. This girl is for me. And that's exactly what I said. What I said to my friend. I said, oh, I know, that's for me. So I went to the bar, have a little rum because Caribbean, and directly when I remember when I arrived because I was next to you, we were all in the smoking area,
back when we used to smoke.
And I saw her and I was like, why you look angry? And she was like, I'm not angry. And I was like, yeah, you look angry. Yeah. She just my face. And that's how we start.
It's just my face.
And that's how we start. Because she looked like so serious.
Yeah.
And that's how we start. And we talk whole night. We forgot our friends.
We did forget our friend. They all left.
They all left the nightclub.
We got told to leave the nightclub.
Yeah, we were like, they were like, sorry, we are closing.
You have to go.
You have to go. And we were like,
and
what?
he proposed to me that night.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
He did. He got on one knee.
Okay.
He was like, well, it was a joke, but it was still, I just like to say it.
She always had to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you did.
Okay, thank you.
And then when we were when we were downstairs after we got kicked out, you were like, oh, come over. And I was like, no, I'm going home.
True.
And then he was like, come over. We're just going to keep talking. And I was like, nah, it's okay. I was like, you can take me on a date.
Yeah. I mean.
And then he couldn't take me on a date.
You had to try.
He couldn't take me on a date because
it was coronavirus.
Yes.
And by the way, I feel like it was even better because she have to come to mine.
And he cooked for me.
And I cook.
Yeah, he did. He could. That was very nice.
And it's better than to go to a restaurant. I feel like some people are gonna say it's a bit scary. You go to the house
I
of someone
definitely like
that you
sent my
don't know.
location and everything to my friend. But yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna say that, but I'm sure like people who met during the coronavirus, it was another time because we had to meet in our house.
But yeah, so that's how we met.
That's how we met.
And then when did we know we wanted to be together? It was a while after.
That's the thing as well. Even if I was single since 6 years or something like that, and I wasn't ready for a relationship because I had goals, because I wanted to do this and that and that, and I was like, I don't want to be in a relationship now, but I said that from the start, But the things that I couldn't deny, it's like the connection between us was crazy, Everything was. That's how you feel when something starts. Everything's look perfect, but it's not just about that. It's like you feel like you know this person since while you never met, you even not come from the same area.
Yeah.
You met each other in a country who's not even yours.
Yeah.
So, but you feel like you know this person since a while. So I was like, okay, I don't want to be in a relationship, but as well, I don't want to lose this connection. And as I don't want to be in a relationship, that's how as well I did the things. I was like, I should say my intention straight away and be clear straight away and and say the truth straight away.
Yeah.
Like that, we don't have any trouble.
Yeah.
During this period of maybe learning each other and even just chill. So we had a pact together.
We did. And I didn't want to be in a relationship either. I had other plans and other things that I wanted to do. But yeah, we spent like a year and a half together, seeing each other, a few times a week. And I mean, there was moments when we didn't, when I traveled and this and that. But
yeah.
I definitely think it made us realize that we did want to be together.
Yeah, after this year and a half.
We became like best friends in a way.
Yeah, after this year and a half and things happen and we realized we were like, but why? We need to be together. Something happened in my head where I was like, I still don't want to lose her.
Right.
It will be, life won't be the same without her now. So after I was like, no, we need to be together. We need to be together. We need to do things together. Because again, I was conscious that you don't met 2,000 people like that.
Right.
You only met one.
Yeah. Yeah.
In your life. If you don't know, that's the thing as well. If you don't know how to recognize that sometimes those people are the one and you let them live,
you're going to regret forever.
You're going to regret, but also you're not going to find anyone else like that.
It's true.
That's how we met. And that's why now you have really right family.
That's exactly right. You do tell the story better than me.
I know. That's why I start finally.
Okay. All right. We got another question.
Let's go.
Why am I in a relationship and everything feels perfect? However, I'm still looking to meet someone else. Well, Fab just said it. You didn't meet the one. Sorry. That's a little harsh, but you clearly don't think it's all perfect because you're still looking.
So when you say that everything's look perfect and finally, but I still want to meet someone, it's because some things is perfect for you. Something is perfect. There is some things, I don't know. Sexually, the money, the car, or maybe a material things or superficial. In generally, it's something superficial.
Yeah.
So you get used to it. But emotionally and everything, you will always feel empty.
Something's missing.
And that's why inside you, your body, your mind feel like I still need something else.
Yeah.
And that's why when we are in a relationship and
You're fulfilled.
You don't care about who is around. You don't care about this guy or this because he is muscly or whatever. You don't care about this type of thing.
Right.
Because the one who's next to you is the one that you need to go where you want to go, but also to feel fulfilled. So you have your answer already. By the way, you know your answer already. You just ask, but you know.
Next.
Next.
Is it normal that I always want to be with my husband and kids? Some people think it's too much.
I like this.
It's normal.
It's more than normal.
I'm not going to lie, I used to think it wasn't normal. I used to think it wasn't.
Because what was your relationship before?
Well, that's what I'm saying,
what
yeah.
example you had?
Right. So, but now I definitely think it's normal. It's like you just want to be together, and then anytime someone plans something on the weekend, even though you love that person, you're just like, but I'd rather be with my family. You know what I mean? Like it's...
And I even going to say something. It should be like that.
Yeah.
It should be like that. Because if you are in your family, you have child, you're working, you have your life, you have everything, and the thing is like you have so much pressure and everything that the only thing that you think is when you're gonna go home, you have to do this, you have to do that. Oh my God, I need to break from my family. I need some things from my family. I don't say that sometimes you want to go to see your friends and chill during the night. That's okay, but if it's something is constantly in your mind, your mind, something is wrong in your relationship. Something is wrong. And that's why as well for me, it should be like that. When I'm going out with my friends, at a certain point, I'm like, I need to go. I want to go back to see my wife and my daughter. I'm thinking about them, and it's like that, and it's a feeling that it's amazing to have, by the way. It's amazing because when you go home after, you're so happy.
It's true. Your cup is full.
Exactly. And it should be like that. Don't even worry about that.
Yeah, don't care about what other people think.
Your relationship is fucking healthy.
And on that note, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with someone who could benefit. Tune into our next episode, Relationships versus Situationships. You will not want to miss it.
And until next time, take care and nurture your relationship.
Relate right.